Adelaide Masters are back after the summer break, so it's 2 rounds down and 2 to go with everything to ride for. This week we feature the Superbikes. Kirk Jamieson is out in front in points. Then it should have been Mark Pollock. However, Mark had a bad accident here in April, but I'm delighted to say he's making a good recovery. The Superbike thrills and spills from the first 2 meetings. So who's likely to provide the thrills today? We're about to find out.
For the first Superbike race, it's Damien Byrne and pole. Then it's the big attraction, Cameron Donald. Jack Kennedy is back, and Matthew Percy completes the front row. And Cameron and Percy both carry onboard cameras.
And welcome to the grid at Mondello Park. Number 48, Damien Byrne on pole position. Oh, and what an awful start from Damien Byrne.
Young Jack Kennedy it is who snatches the lead heading down to turn 1. He's got the inside line, but look at this on the outside. Cameron Donald chops across his bows and takes the lead down into turn 1.
Not so fast. Look, it's Jack Kennedy swoops into the lead at turn 2. So Jack Kennedy leads from Cameron Donald, Matthew Percy in third, and Damien Byrne, the poleman, in fourth position.
Well, this is great stuff, and this is what the big crowds have come to Mondello to seek. And Jack Kennedy possibly hold off Cameron Donald, a far more experienced rider, and on a better bike, Jim?
Yeah, Cameron's riding the Wilson Craig Honda CBR 1000. It's a full-on super bike that he's raced around the TT, the Ulster Grand Prix and whatever. Jack Kennedy rides a super stock Yamaha R1. It's a standard, basically, road bike with race suspension. So Jack on the back foot for this one, but he's a champion rider, so there's no reason he can't give Cameron a good run for his money in this one.
Yeah, Cameron Donald looking very, very good. We were looking back from on board there, but he's not going to be looking back. He's going to be looking forward. Trained on the back end of young Jack Kennedy's bike as they come down into turn 1 now. Kennedy a little bit defensive perhaps, the bike moving around a lot more than Cameron Donald, who looks like he's stalking his prey already.
Well, Cameron's got a lot of experience, so he's going to sit back. He'll probably take a few laps to suss out Jack Kennedy's lines. Jack Kennedy's a local rider. He knows every inch of the circuit. He's the lap record holder around here on the 600s, and he knows where he's going. So Cameron Donald's going to learn a few little tricks from Jack and then maybe pay him back in the latter stages of the event.
That's what it looks like. Doesn't really get a run about a Bridgestone corner, doesn't catch it, but he's sitting right behind him, tracking his every move, perhaps watching Kennedy's lines around Mondello Park. As you said, Kennedy very much an expert around this 1.24 mile national circuit. Here they come up to Dunlop, and already look at the gap. This is a 2-horse race, Jim. They've left everyone else way behind.
And it's a great battle here for third position from Matthew Percy. Pole position man Damien Byrne hot on his heels, and Mark Johnson on the other Fireblade in fifth position. So these guys haven't given up on a podium yet, and they're really pushing hard.
Battle still goes on at the front. Watch out for Kirk Jamieson. We saw him earlier. He's of course the series leader. He's well back there on the big BMW. Very distinctive machine. But every time we've had these guys on RPM, we've seen slow starts. Then it gets up, it picks up its skirts. The big German lady and begins to run, Jim.
Maybe it's the curse of pole position. The pole position man, Leo, 48, Damien Byrne, made an awful start. He's down in fourth position there now. He's really struggling. He was the quickest guy in the circuit all day yesterday in qualifying.
Yeah, you can sense his frustration there. He knows he's potentially quicker than everybody. He's been on pole position, but he's boxed up behind Matthew Percy, a very experienced rider. And you can almost see a little bit of exasperation creeping into his riding there, his body style as he comes through the S's and heads up towards Dunlop again.
But back at the front, it's Jack Kennedy rigging the neck of this Yamaha R1. Cameron Donald hot on his heels on the Honda CBR 1000, the silver and red machine. This machine is a full factory machine. It's a Honda CBR 1000, probably putting out 199 to 200 horsepower. Cameron's been around the TT at over 130 miles an hour on this machine, so he knows how to ride.
But he's getting a pit board there, but he doesn't need that pit board. He knows exactly where Jack Kennedy is. He probably knows there's no one behind him. And Kennedy now, is he beginning to feel the pressure, Jim? You can see that bike beginning to move around, particularly down into turn 1, the back of the bike beginning to drift out of place.
I don't think so. Jack Kennedy's a front runner in the British Superbike Championship, so Jack Kennedy is he's fit to battle those guys. He's fit to battle anyone in this country at all. So Jack Kennedy, a vast amount of experience. As I say, a World Championship rider given the right backing. So definitely, if anyone's got a few pounds to give, Jack Kennedy the man to put on the podium for MotoGP.
Certainly putting on a good display today. We're on board now with Matthew Percy on the Yamaha R1. This bike looking like a little bit of a handful from on board, Jim.
Yeah, it looks like it's a 2007-2008 Yamaha R1. Quite a difficult machine to ride, a huge amount of horsepower. This machine's got 200 horsepower, but it's very difficult to put it down. It comes in all of a bang. The minute you open the throttle, it comes in really hard. And you can see Matthew really struggling out the slower turns. Faster turns aren't really a problem in this machine, but it's the slow turns where Matthew really struggles to get the grip.
Yeah, he's under pressure now, obviously, from the poleman as they head down towards turn 3. But back to the lead, and Kennedy still hanging on, but really almost like a shadow behind him now is the Australian Cameron Donald. They come down into the S's again, bang to the left and back across to the right and up the short hill for Dunlop Corner to start another lap.
And back at this third place battle, it's still Matthew Percy hanging on by the skin of his teeth from number 48, Damien Byrne, on the blue Honda CBR 1000. Damien Byrne, pole position man, really struggling to get his frustration out on this one, we'll say.
He is, but in the background again, watch out for number 15. Kirk Jemison is coming close. He's taken 2 places early on. He's closed onto the back of this 3-bike battle for 3rd place now, and he's looking like a little bit of a danger here. Great man to pick up points.
Yes, and Kirk really struggles. He gets a terrible start every race and then manages to battle his way near the front. I'd like to see him getting a good start someday and actually run with the front runners from the very start.
Well, he's given himself a lot of work to do, as he always does, but again, he's beginning to come up through the pack. A little bit of work to do. 3 quick riders in front of him now, and of course he'll have the points in his mind all the time because he is the points leader, as we said, and that is crucial at this stage in the series. Here he comes now, down into the S's, banking the BMW over to the left, and not taking any big risks. He just tends to chop them off one by one as he moves up the field.
So go back to the front of the field, and here we're back with Jack Kennedy. Just leads across the line from Cameron Donald. So Cameron Donald now really beginning to put the pressure on Jack Kennedy. He tries around the outside, he lets the brakes run off, and he's going to run tight right on the back of Jack Kennedy on the exit, hard on the gas. So these guys running through the left-hander now, and it's full steam ahead. 200 brake horsepower on the ground. These Dunlop tyres and Michelin tyres spinning up as they come out of that exit.
So great stuff from these two, great battle up the front, but you do get the feeling that Cameron Donald is just waiting, playing a little bit of a waiting game. Almost looked like Kennedy was in his way at the apex of turn 1, and again coming up at a Bridgestone corner, he's right with him, just shadowing every move. I think we're just waiting for the move here.
Cameron Donald's smart enough to know to sit behind Jack. He's not really going to push too hard. He'll wait till the last 2 or 3 laps, and then he'll drop the hammer and give Jack Kennedy a good run for his money. But it's hard to believe that Jack Kennedy's actually riding a standard road bike. That's a Yamaha R1. It's a super stock bike. It's a road Yamaha R1 with race suspension.
Well, great stuff from Kennedy to be doing this, but I think it's a good move from Cameron Donald because we know how good Jack Kennedy is. He obviously does too. Here comes the move we've been waiting for, down the inside into turn 1. Has he gone in too deep? I think he may have. Oh,
look, it's Jack Kennedy back around the outside again. So great move by the Dubliner there. Jack Kennedy swoops on the inside, back to the lead. So Cameron Donald forced back into 2nd position by Jack Kennedy. What a great move.
Well, this is what I was just about to say. Kennedy's not going to take it lying down when the move does come. He's surely going to fight back, and he did immediately, and now he leads again.
I didn't think he was going to come back straight away. What a great move from Jack Kennedy there on the Yamaha. Not an easy machine to muscle around, I might add, around Mondello Park. These big 1000cc machines are hard work around this tight 1.24 mile circuit.
Well, I wonder had Cameron Donald budgeted for that one. I don't think so. He's going to have to rethink the whole thing here. Will he try again? Coming up to Dunlop Corner this time, he's on the inside. Thinks the better of it. Kennedy very late in the brakes, gets turned in. Cameron probably gets a better line. Will he be quicker on the exit? Can he have a go down into turn 1? Being urged on now by his pit crew.
And a great run from Cameron Donald at the last turn. Jack Kennedy gets a big slide, and Cameron Donald lets the brakes off and runs around the outside of Jack Kennedy. So
Kennedy fights back, and they're side by side in the approach to Adelaide, but Kennedy has to back out of it. Now Cameron Donald leads. We're looking back. Great shot. There he goes, down the inside into Bridgestone, the first apex, but has to back out of that one. But Kennedy immediately fighting back here.
This kid doesn't want to be beaten by anyone. He's going to wring the neck of this Yamaha R1, and hopefully he's going to get it to the finish line first.
Just 3 corners to go now, so can Kennedy possibly fight back? We've got to say it's been perfect timing from Cameron Donald, so that pit board did its job. He waited till the last lap, sliced around the outside. Kennedy fights back again, but just 1 corner to go, and look at the straight line speed now of the Australians' machine as they head up towards Dunlop.
Kennedy lets the brakes off, but it's Cameron Donald hard on the gas, and it looks like he's getting the run to the start-finish line.
So Cameron Donald times it to perfection to take the win. There's nothing young Jack Kennedy could do about that one. And well back down the track, Matthew Percy comes out tops in a great battle for 3rd ahead of Damien Byrne and Mark Johnson.
The podium awaits not just for the top 3, but for Daniel O'Connell, the Bridgestone Cup winner.
The lads made me work hard for it. Problems with the clutch, but got there in the end. Really hard fought, but we really enjoyed it.
But the battle that everybody will remember was between Dubliner Jack Kennedy and the Australian Cameron Donald.
Yeah, it was a close one. The Wilson Craig Honda's working well, but the Yamaha and the Honda have their strength in different areas on the track, so it makes it a very exciting race. But I passed on the second last lap, ran wide, and dropped back to second, and then on the last lap I think Jack went in tight and went around the outside, so I sort of might have just snuck the move on him there, but he'll be wise to it next time, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more close racing today.
10 laps in the morning and 12 laps in the afternoon, and add to that combined Superbike and Supersports final. It's a busy day here at Mondello for the riders. Join us for Superbike Race 2 after the break. Now for the longer test. 12 laps of Mondello's national circuit is hard work.
Damien Byrne has done the double as far as pole positions are concerned. But Cameron Donald is the big name and already a winner here today. Can Jack Kennedy get revenge? And Matthew Percy completes the front row just as in race 1. Number 31 is Mark Johnson, who is making quite a name for himself today. And that's the championship leader, Kurt Jamieson.
We're back on board with Matthew Percy on the big Yamaha R1, so expect some fun and games from this one.
Getting ready to go, and Damien Byrne gets a second shot at it here because he's still on pole. But again, the same thing, just pops the clutch too early, little bit of a wheelie, and goes backwards as they head down towards turn 1.
Yeah, but look at this, it looks like it's Matthew Percy, but no, it's Cameron Donald. So Cameron Donald swoops around the outside, Jack Kennedy into second position there, so great move from these two fabulous riders.
Well, that was great stuff from Kennedy because Percy just launched it down the inside. Kennedy let him go and then flicked it across the back of him. Very much a thinking rider, young Kennedy, and already the first two getting away. And Percy on this difficult bike on Coulthard is really trying now to stay with them on halfway around lap 1.
Yeah, the Yamaha R1 has got a 200 horsepower. It's really difficult to put the power down from the slow turns, as we said earlier, but not so for the man in front. Cameron Donald, Jack Kennedy in second position, holding onto his coattails, not going to let him out of his sight for this one.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there. Kennedy can't let him go. We saw what happened in race 1. We saw how much pace he has potentially, and now we're going to see it really because he's got away with perfect first corner. Look at Kennedy getting out of shape and kicking up just right on the limit there on cold tires.
That was a line I used to use coming out of that last turn as well, but normally ended up in the ambulance.
Well, it didn't for him. He's held onto it well, but Kennedy's got great control. Doesn't mind the bike moving around as we've seen before on RPM, but he really is pushing very, very hard. Not sure if there's anything he can do about this. Look at this battle. That's Percy at the head of this one again, under attack from poleman Byrne, I think it is. Is that Johnson right with them?
Yes, it's Matthew Percy under huge pressure from Damien Byrne and Mark Johnson, so both these Honda riders ganging up on the Yamaha. They're going to beat him into submission if he lets them, but Matthew Percy's a tough kid and I don't think he's going to let that happen. But just as we say it, Damien Byrne swoops around the outside of Matthew Percy, so what a manoeuvre by Damien Byrne. Fantastic.
Brave move on that off-camber corner. We've seen Marshall Neal do that before, but it's not a move you see too much around Mondello Park and bikes, and it's very impressive stuff. And listen to Percy's bike here as he feeds the power on. Just struggling, as you said, it comes in with a bit of a bang and the bike does look like a handful. About now it gets up and running, but it's almost time to get on the brakes now for Mondello Park's National Circuit Main Straight.
Yeah, yesterday I had a bit of time on my hands and brought the speed gun down there at Leo just as they were crossing over the start-finish line. These guys were hitting 135 miles an hour just as they crossed the start-finish line, so nothing to be sneezed at.
Oh, it's pretty impressive stuff. Here they come. Percy now has got another problem in his hands because he's got 31 behind him. Johnson, another quick guy, so really has got his hands full. And is Johnson's bike kicking up a little bit of dust or a little bit of smoke there?
It looked like he grounded out a foot peg or a gear lever around that corner there, so it can't be a gear lever because it's on the right hand side, but he definitely is dragging something on the ground. Maybe it's even the fairing, we're not quite sure.
Well, it's not bothering because he's piling the pressure on Percy now. And whatever it is with Percy, seems to be able to do a quick lap in qualifying, get himself on the front row, and in race trim the bike just looks like a real handful.
200 horsepower around the tight and twisty corners are it's quite a lot, and I have to say I wouldn't like to be riding it.
Well, he's making a good account, but here he's holding back Johnson there, and they've pulled well away. Kurt Jamieson makes up another place there with the huge straight line speed that we spoke about earlier, that BMW. Again, beginning to perhaps wake up and get going because we're coming towards mid-race now.
He's had a few laps to think about what he wants to do, and he pushes. Kirk is one of the fastest guys on the circuit, and as we said before, if he could only just get away at the start, he'd definitely be the man to beat all the time.
Yeah, he's well back, and I don't know if he's even going to get up to these guys. He did manage it earlier on in the earlier races we saw, but I'm not sure about this one. And look what's happening up front. Cameron Donald is beginning to just ease away now from Jack Kennedy, and nothing that Jack Kennedy can do about it.
No, Jack Kennedy's on the standard Superstock R1, so he's really going to struggle against Cameron Donald. In the first race, he put on a huge battle. Maybe he's taken a bit out of him. Jack's only back from injury. He broke his back about 3 months ago, and this is his first ride back, really. So maybe a little bit of fitness coming into it as well.
Well, great stuff from Byrne. He's got away from Percy, and I think he might be just inching up towards Jack Kennedy in this one. As they went down through turn 1, there wasn't much between them. It's great stuff from the pole man. He's got away. He got held up in race 1. He's dispatched Percy early in this one. He's got away from this battle we're watching now, and he's beginning to catch Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, Damien Byrne, number 48 there, definitely a true privateer in the whole sense. The family comes along every meeting, even the dog is brought along. The dog is a lucky mascot, and lucky for him this weekend. He got 2 fine pole positions, and he's in a good third position as we speak.
He is, and he's fighting well to try and haul Kennedy. And there's Kirk Jemison. Just look at how far away he's got from these guys that he fought his way through early on. He's all on his own now, and I wonder, no, it's almost the length of the straight up to Dunlop. I don't think he can do back. This is a great battle up because Johnson, 31, trying every way to get round Percy. Obviously can't do it on the main straight, or can he?
No, he can't. Matthew Percy's brave on the brakes. He lets go of the brakes and runs really quick into turn 1. Matthew Percy, one of the best young riders we've seen coming up this year. Matthew started off on the 125s, had some 250 rides, but he's really excelling himself on this Yamaha R1.
Yeah, he was very impressive on 125s, and he's not afraid of that machine at all. Little bit of a shimmy coming off Adelaide corner there, but didn't back out of it at all. And 31 Mark Johnson beginning to think about this a little bit, went straight back to the outside when Percy defended the last time, and had another look at him, trying to get a run on the way out of the corner as opposed to diving by him on the way in. But he really is looking threatening here.
And Percy under huge pressure there from Johnson on the blue and white Honda CBR 1000. So Matthew Percy hard on the gas now up the hill into Dunlop turn. Oh, and look on the inside, it's Mark Johnson. So Mark Johnson, let's go the brakes, dives under the inside of Matthew Percy.
Percy fights back, and you spoke about how quick this bike is, and look at this getting a run now. Oh, almost rubbing the pit wall there at Mondello Park. That was brave stuff from both of them. And the door being firmly shut. Can he slice it down the inside? I think he can. Great stuff from Percy.
What a great ride from Matthew Percy. I breathed it in when I seen that on board as well. So tight manoeuvre there between Mark Johnson and Matthew Percy down the start-finish straight in Mondello Park.
Well, that really was a great shot there as they came down the main straight. But Percy takes it back incredibly down into turn 1. Might be a hard bike to ride, but he's not budgeting for that. Really having a go, and he's not going to give this place up without a big fight.
No, this kid, as we said, has come on leaps and bounds this year. Look at him riding this 1000. He's throwing it around like a 125. Mark Johnson's an experienced rider, really quick guy too. A Honda, slightly easier machine to ride. And back it's Kirk Jamieson on the charge now. So Kirk Jamieson is charging up number 15, the championship leader, charging towards the front of this field.
Yeah, Kirk would be delighted to see this battle and a bit of place swapping going on. Look at this. He's really pushing hard now. As we said, from mid-race on is where Kirk begins to really push. And as we said, he'll be delighted to see this battle because that's going to slow them down, and he'll just begin to creep up towards them.
So the yellow Yamaha R1 of Matthew Percy really going to struggle in the latter part of this race. That tyre's going to be spinning off the back, and as we say that, Mark Johnson tries to move up the inside, and he gets him into a Bridgestone turn. So great move there by Mark Johnson up into third position.
Well timed, well away from the main straight, and that's where Percy's dangerous. Look at Percy out onto the curbs, feeding on the parts. A little bit like walking on eggshells, with a little bit too much throttle, and that bike will go out over the curb and just spit you off. And Percy trying really hard, but Johnson already well ahead as they round the S's now and come up towards Dunlop.
If you just look at the RPM counter on the dashboard, it's jumping up to 13,000 RPM as soon as you open the throttle, so that thing is really making horsepower.
And speaking of horsepower, look at this out in front. Cameron Donald really looks like he's on rails. Doesn't look like he's trying too hard, but he's banging in the lap times. Kennedy not too far away, which is impressive stuff. But I think Cameron just holding that gap, balancing it, watching his pit board every lap. Here's Matthew Percy now, and look behind him is Kirk Jamieson from all the way back. We didn't think he'd catch these guys, but he really has been charging from mid-race on. And Jamieson now hauling in Percy as they head down towards turn 3.
And some great on-board shots this weekend, mostly provided by Matthew Percy and some of his fantastic passing manoeuvres around Mondello Park.
Yeah, great stuff as he feeds the power in again and heads back up towards the main arena at Mondello. But all the time getting closer is the big BMW of Kirk Jamieson. And he really is. Kirk will be calculating points as much as anything else is in his head as he closes in on another victim in the latter stages of this one.
So as they run into a Dunlop turn, it's Matthew Percy in the lead just from... Oh, look, Matthew Percy shaking his head. He must have a bit of a problem. So Kirk Jamieson right hot on his heels. Can he make a pass on him?
Well, it looks like he was saying it couldn't be Kirk Jamieson. He was way back at the start of this race. But whatever the problem is, there he goes. Big BMW gets alongside, has the inside line for the brakes, and makes it stick down into turn 1.
That was a veteran Mondello Park manoeuvre from Kirk Jamieson. Obviously, he knows the whole track now. He's really pushing on towards the front of this field.
Yeah, it really was. He used the last corner there to get alongside, and then the move was already half done on the approach down to turn 1. And in fact, the back marker in the way now in the closing stages of this one.
And that looks like Frank Smith, the local rider. So Frank Smith getting passed by Kirk Jameson and Matthew Percy there.
Yeah, really having a go at each other as they went by him there, coming up the hill, front wheels in the air, both really trying hard. But I think Kirk Jameson at this stage of the race is lapping as quickly as anybody else. The leader getting thumbs up there, big support from his pit crew, and that lead getting bigger and bigger now as they head down towards turn 1.
And Jack Kennedy with a big slide on there in second position. So Jack Kennedy certainly hasn't given up on this win, but maybe his back injury is causing him a little bit of trouble late on in this race.
He looks quite comfortable on the bike, just in terms of outright pace. He looks a little bit more on the ragged edge than Donald, as you can see him lifting wheels and the bike moving around. But that's how Jack Kennedy likes to ride. We've seen him do it before when he's well out in front. He still pushes on like that. So he's not going to give up. He's going to keep the pressure on right the way to the checkered flag here, I feel.
These two guys only know how to ride one way. That's flat out. So it's going to be a full charge to the finish line in this one.
Good effort here from Percy, because Jameson came from way back, displaced it, but Percy is hanging on to the back mudguard of that bike in front for grim death in the closing stages of this one now. And it's a good fight back from young Percy.
And a great run from Kirk Jameson, we must say. He came from so far back on the grid up to this fantastic 5th position.
Yeah, it's great stuff for Jameson, but this is what we've always seen. He can't get off the grid. He really needs to work on that. He had issues with the clutch. He's got a tall first gear. Here we go now. Down into turn 1. Again, that twitch we've seen from Jack Kennedy well before the corner there. Gets the bike out of shape the wrong way as he heads down towards the right-hand corner.
That's just the clutch biting in on. When he lets the clutch out, the back wheel locks up slightly, brings the back end around, and it looks more spectacular from the outside than it actually does when you're riding the machine.
Well, as does the wheelie on the way down towards turn 3 there. Really looks like he's pushing hard. Wonder, does he sense a problem up front, or is he just, this is how he rides, flat out all the time?
No, he rides flat out all the time, and these two guys are riding flat out. Matthew Percy still hasn't given up on beating Kirk Jameson, so a fantastic battle here between these two guys for 5th position. Matthew Percy slips right on the heels again of Kirk Jameson.
I wonder, is this a matter of Jameson's tyres going off towards the end of the race after all the hard work, or Percy pulling his socks up? Here comes Cameron at Dunlop corner, nobody to touch him. It looks like it's going to be a lights to flag victory for the Australian here. The checkered flag is waving in, he takes it at Mondello Park.
And a great result for Jack Kennedy in second position, and pole position man Damien Byrne taking a fantastic 3rd place.
A double for Donald, and this time by 3.5 seconds, and a double for Bridgestone Cup man Daniel O'Connell. But it's Damien Byrne, Jack Kennedy and Cameron Donald on the podium.
We struggle a lot in the straight line. We've a lot of time made up from. Cameron makes a lot of time in the straight line, so we have to make it up in the corners, which is hard going, but we'll give it our best.
Giving his best after a broken back.
Boys made a little change since the first race this morning, and made a big difference. So it made it a lot easier in that race, and it was good fun.
It's the Supersport 600s from the Adelaide Masters next week on RPM Motorsport. So join us then for more Mondello magic.